is to conduct an investigation of how capital-labour relations are affected by spatialisation of transnational companies, and specifically those of the auto industry across the US and Mexico. My reason for choosing this is that I want to really look at how appropriate SSA theory is as a means of analysing the effects of globalisation. The choice of spatialisation theory, which is the core of my work at the present time, is really, I think, quite pertinent, given that it explicitly acknowledges the globalisation as affecting and determining labour outcomes, and obviously I'll be covering capital-labour relations of the auto industry through this. Okay, as I'm sure you all know, an SSA consists of all of the institutions and social relations that significantly impinge on the stability of the capitalist accumulation process. That definition that I've chosen to put up there is very broad, which in terms of course, and it does highlight the direct institutions that affect the accumulation process. So what I'd like to do is try just initially to distinguish between what is the capital accumulation process itself and what is the social structure of accumulation that supports it. So again, as you all know, the capitalist accumulation process is driven by the pursuit of profits, and that is acquired at the end of a dynamic process of capital circulation. And decisions to invest in real accumulation are highly dependent on security of expectations that investors and capitalists have. The functionality of the social structure of accumulation comes to bear in at this point of the capitalist accumulation process by creating structures which should allow stability for expectation of rate of return in terms of profit. Given that you can define a social structure as in essence being a configuration of social relations and positions, SSA then can encompass all the social relations that notably contribute to fulfilling the stabilisation requirements of the capitalist accumulation process. The specific social relation that I want to look at is the capital-labour institutional relationship. Of great importance is the idea of stabilisation, and that provides confidence in an expected rate of return. So if that stabilisation is there, it can ensure willingness on the part of capitalists to reinvest in real accumulation instead of, say, highly speculative financial accumulation. Changes in social relations then will have a change of the directional swing of an SSA. And that as we know, the configuration of social relations in the SSA framework as a whole is contingent on the contemporaneous external environment in which they exist, and are also historically contingent, meaning that then SSAs will vary and are qualitatively different depending on the period in which they occur. So qualitative changes at the present time, of course, manage to address the potential emergence of a new global neoliberal SSA. And what I would hope to do in my work would be to address the specific social relation of capital-labour relations and to see what's happening to bear qualitative changes on what might suggest a new SSA emerging. When people speak of the new SSA, they talk of a new global neoliberal SSA. And just to cover some of the basics of global neoliberalism, a lot of the reforms and policies that have been pursued by governments have resulted in increasingly liberalised economic agendas. There's also been a commodification of labour, given that neoliberalism sees free movement of markets as paramount, and any sort of stickiness in wages is perceived as an inefficiency, and therefore neoliberalism has promoted the concept of labour flexibilisation. In the ways that I feel that global neoliberal policies would be relevant to my work is that they have resulted in the strengthening of capital relative to labour. There has been an emphasis on technological change, the opening of borders, the emergence of a transnationalist capitalist class, and the overall dominance of supranational institutions and transnational corporations over national governments, and in a spatial sense beyond state boundaries has been evidenced. All of these lead to what we would think to be significant alterations in social relations and social structures of accumulation available in our current period. Based on all of these neoliberal reforms, we now have a globalisation of capital circuits Transnational corporations function on a world scale and are facilitated in this through various supranational institutions whose explicit purpose is the promotion of cross-border activities. So what we've seen is the emergence of trade integration and the attendant disintegration of production. This is all occurring in the current period due to the globalisation of economic activity and its actors. So what were previously integrated production processes in the corporate form of forced production, we now instead have new production processes which are redefined in terms of how they relate to national boundaries. So global segmentation is then evident and ongoing through fragmentation and geographical relocation. Globalised value chains then are available to, which I will look into later in my work, through which to assess the ongoing disintegration of production. Location decisions are influenced at each stage of production by projected benefits in cost terms and value addition of different places and localities. A potential use, which I do intend to go into within the globalised value chains, is that they can be useful in revealing the cross-border organisational structures of industries and therefore could provide an insight into both global and local institutional effects on industrial location decisions. So what we're seeing is that global capital circulation is facilitated by the normalcy of production disintegration on a global scale. Okay. So transnational corporations act to link transnational corporations act to link production of goods and services across borders. And global outsourcing is seen as a dramatic expansion of production capabilities of transnational corporations. So what that's really leading to is the idea that there are emerging positive changes in specific capital, labour, institutional relationships. Right? Given the lessening of constraints on the circulation of capital without corresponding mobility of labour. I just want to cover the Spatialisation School theory, which I intend to apply, and it is an extension of Gordon Edward and Wright's work. And it's an extension of their understanding that during different SSAs there are different strategies through which for the capital to be dominant over labour. And the Spatialisation School claims to have a fourth dynamic emerging, and that marks the US SSA is this process of spatialisation. Spatialisation really is a branch that explicitly of SSA that explicitly acknowledges the importance of globalisation in affecting qualitative changes in capital labour relations. So initially focused on the deindustrialisation of America in the 70s, and it addressed the negative effects of interstate capital flight. So therein acknowledging the mobility of capital and the efforts of local states to attract it or maintain it. Constituting the spatial restructuring of work and reorganisation of labour markets by transnational corporations, spatialisation offers a means of analysing qualitative changes in social structures resulting from capitalist drive to maintain profit through expansion and fragmentation of production to meet low-cost and acquiescent labour markets. So, spatialisation is just an historical extrapolation of a basic principle of capitalist development, which is that as fixed costs become standardised across space, capitalists then look to variable cost reductions as a means of maintaining profit. So you find capitalists searching for their optimal spatial fix through geographical relocation and outsourcing. They then, given their mobility, are able to either able to or can threaten to relocate, bring about deindustrialisation or capital flight. This acts as a control strategy of the transnational capitalist class in order to contain labour descent. The viability of this is derived from the increasing fragmentation of the work tasks, and therefore workers in different locations are able to perform different tasks. In relation to globalisation, then, spatialisation is important in that it results in the creation of a spatially dispersed and globally integrated organisation of economic activity, and spatialisation therefore accelerates the tendencies towards globalisation and undermines the basis for empowerment of workers. It engages in a variety, well, it has a number of goals, and I really probably don't have time to go through them, part of a grander strategy to control labour, and they include things like spatial disconnection, cultural division of labour, technocratic control. All of this spatialisation seems to bring about an enhanced class capital capacity of transnational capitalists. Okay, and just to try and get this to relate back to what I'm doing, because I know we're running out of a long time. With all of this about spatialisation in mind, the importance of locality becomes important. Dependent on the extent of labour organisation within a region and its ability to unionise or to resist capitalist endeavours to reduce wages, these things will impact on its perceived attractiveness to transnational corporations. So depending on your region and whether you have tightly organised labour market will decide whether a transnational corporation will choose to locate there or not. Given the greater strength of the organisational capacity in labour terms, the more likely you are to disrupt capital production and undermine obviously capitalist ability to pursue profit. What I intend to do is what I would like to do would be to look at the auto industry plans in Mexico and the US and for the application of spatialisation theory. There would appear to be evidence of the conditions that are characteristic of spatialisation, and they would appear to be in existence in the auto industry in these countries, the effects of it, and it's something I'd like to explore further. I'd like to place these three levels here: the strengthening of capital relative to labour spatialisation as a form of labour control, promotion of cross-border production processes within and place their development within a specific spatialisation framework. I want to, in talking about the choice of Mexico and the auto industry within that, as you may have seen from the title, it's looking specifically at what are called maquiladores. And the reason for the choice of maquiladores as a type of plant in which to conduct a study would be that, given this is looking at that I'm trying to look at the effects of globalisation, I'd like to look at maquiladores because they're export-oriented manufacturing sectors, and by definition they're obliged through regulation controls to temporarily import component parts and then export a finished or further processed product back to the country of origin. So by design then, they are intended to promote cross-border activities. And within that then there is the choice of the auto industry. So just talking about the Mexican auto industry in general has seen a massive restructuring since 1990. That's been due to internationalisation strategies by Ford and GM as they attempt to deal with increased global competition. There's also been, what's aided all of this has been the Mexican government's more export-orientated industrialisation policies. Production for export using flexible production has been a key element in the modernisation of the sector and is ultimately the base of its competitive advantage. So that's the auto industry in general in Mexico. The restructuring has been characterised by shifting to weakly unionised areas, the introduction of the latest production techniques, and the adoption of new management techniques. There has been an emergence of flexible production models, and this reflects the enhanced capacity of capitalists. We've seen the adoption of Japanese management techniques, and these new approaches have heralded the onset of flexible labour regimes, where with an emphasis on flexible specialisation, flexible employment and wages in an effort to add value through waste minimisation. The dominance of these flexible production models highlights institutional changes in the nature of capital-labour relations, and the new system reflects the enhanced class capacity of capitalists to effect changes in working conditions of immobile labour groups, especially those located in developing countries. It has been found in Curlo's study in 1995 of Ford Mexico that there was a requirement of less restructuring of labour practices within maquiladores than in established or new joint venture plants. This is perhaps suggesting that maquiladore plants with their cross-border activity emphasis are reflective of the new locational and production process preferences of transnational corporations. As I said, it is the first year, so I have to apply the work yet. What I would hope contributions of my work to make in the long run would be to apply spatialisation to an area outside of the United States, and specifically would be Mexico. Then that it may possibly contribute to the debate relating to the validity of claims of an emergent global neoliberal SSA, through looking specifically at the social relation of capital and labour. So if there is evidence of qualitative changes in this relation as a result of globalisation and neoliberal policies, it may serve to support the potential that there is a new emergent